the director of the Women on Farms, who is Colette Solomon, to talk to us more on their demands as to why they are outside Parliament. I'm joined here by Colette. Colette, thank you so much for your time. The first group outside the gates of Parliament, talk to us about your demands. We see that you're calling on the minister to look at wealth tax.
Yes, so women farm workers are calling on Minister Godongwana to introduce a wealth tax on the richest 1% of South Africans. That's about 350,000 people. And we are saying that a wealth tax of between 3 and 7% will generate a revenue of about between 140 and 170 billion rand. And of course, this money that will be generated will address issues like land redistribution for women farm workers and dwellers, but also, and very importantly, it will address the structural inequalities that we have in South Africa. For example, in South Africa, we know that 1%, this 1% of South Africans own 55% of South Africa's wealth. So a wealth tax is also a progressive solidarity tax to address the inequality that we have in the country.
I understand that you've engaged with government prior on your demands. What has been the response thus far up until today?
So we have submitted a submission to Minister Godongwana ahead of the budget speech today. And so we are hoping that there will be some feedback and that we will have some future engagements with him after budget. You know, there's always the opportunity for government to engage with civil society who have made written submissions. And so we are hoping that women farm workers themselves will actually be able to participate in that kind of engagement.
A number of groups and organizations are also planning to make their way to Parliament, including the EFF that is currently setting up. Would you say that this is, South Africans tired of the current state of affairs?
Absolutely. So we know that we are all expecting a austerity budget again. And I think for poor South Africans, unemployed South Africans, the working class in South Africa, all have been particularly affected during the COVID-19 pandemic by unemployment, underemployment. Even farm workers, the hours are reduced, etc. So I think all South Africans are saying it is time that we need something radical from our government. And while we welcome the extension of the social relief of disaster grant, we are also saying that this should pave the way for the introduction of a basic income grant at a much higher rate that really speaks to the economic and financial needs of poor working class communities in South Africa.
And what don't you want to hear today with the minister's budget speech later this afternoon?
Well, we don't want to see, VAT increasing, because that obviously affects poor people in the main. We also don't want to see any more cuts on social spending. Again, poor people are adversely affected. So what we really want to see, we want to see a government that is reading the mood of the country, taking the pulse of the country, listening to the poor of this country, and introducing and tabling a budget that is going to speak to the needs of poor South Africans.
Colette Solomon's there from Women on Farms, talking to us about her expectations ahead of the minister's budget speech at 2 p.m. at the Good Hope Chambers, saying that she is hoping that the minister actually listens to the pulse of what South Africans want, speaking about the wealth tax, including the fact that they are hoping that this year's budget speech is rather pro-poor, taking into account the number of organizations, civil organizations, including citizens that will be making their way to the gates of Parliament to make their pleas heard by the Minister of Finance as he tables his national budget speech today.